Welcome to my Frenzy Berserker build for Barbarian. This is a simple, easy to use build where you're primarily using Death Blow to maintain berserking by one-shotting anyone who dares come close. Even elites don't stand a chance in the face of this build. I know people are favoring the Thorns build in the beta, but I had more fun with this playstyle. In this build I totally ignored the Fury resource, only using it when everything else was on cooldown, as it is very slow to build up. Mainly I focused on maintaining the berserking mode for as long as possible, so I took Upheaval, Warcry, and Deathblow, which all gave berserking. Some of the pros for this build are lots of damage from Warcry, Deathblow, Iron Maelstrom, and berserking mode, reliable ways to stay berserking from Upheaval, Warcry, and Deathblow, and overall it was a fun build that fully encapsulated the class fantasy of a barbarian. I held my ground, literally mowed down waves of enemies, and didn't die in the process, which is exactly what I'm looking for in this type of character. Also, it was very solo friendly as I was strong enough to survive hard CC no problem. Some of the cons for this build, there was no way to make enemies vulnerable, which didn't really hurt my build, so I don't see it as much of a con, but if I could make enemies vulnerable, it would only strengthen this build even further. Plus, I have one of my expertise that I maxed out. It gives damage towards vulnerable enemies, so that was useless to me for the whole beta. Also, another con, there are no immune skills on the Barbarian skill tree, so I felt that was weird because Sorcerer has 2 immune skills on their tree. And not that every class needs to have the same things on their skill tree, but why would a sorcerer need immunity and a barbarian would not need immunity? But whatever. So to start off the build, I have Frenzy. It unleashes a rapid flurry of blows, dealing damage with each pair of hits. The modifier I used was Enhanced Frenzy, which gave me 2 additional Fury whenever I hit 60% bonus attack speed. And Battle Frenzy. While berserking, each of my skills had 5% attack speed for each stack of Frenzy I had, so 15 in total. Also, you can use Combat Frenzy, which gave you 8% damage reduction for each stack of Frenzy you have, but I chose the other one. Upheaval, tear to the ground, dealing damage to anybody in front of you. I got this one for Violent Upheaval as it gives berserking. If you hit at least 2 enemies, it gives you berserking for 2 seconds, and if you hit 4 or more, it gives you berserking for 3 seconds. I also have Enhanced Upheaval, which gives you a 20% chance to stun enemies for 2.5 seconds. Ground Stomp, I only use Ground Stomp for Strategic Ground Stomp, which gives me cooldown reduction for my ultimate. On the brawling skills, I have Warcry, which gives me increased damage by 15% for 8 seconds, and also benefits my allies for 4 seconds. Mainly, I'm using this for the Enhanced Warcry, which gives me berserking for 4 seconds. But I also took Mighty Warcry, which grants me base life as Fortify whenever I use the Warcry skill, which is just making my overall build even tankier. You could also use Power Warcry, so you have more damage, but it won't work on a boss unless you have 6 enemies around you, so I decided not to use it. Also, I have Aggressive Resistance, which gives me damage reduction while berserking, and I have Swiftness, which just gives me flat movement speed. Well, a percentage of movement speed. For Deathblow, I have 4 out of 5, and my gear is giving me 2, so I'm at 6 out of 5, and it's just a killing strike. And if it kills the enemy, its cooldown is reset. And this is what the build mainly focuses around. You're going to be literally spamming this one ability, killing everything in front of you, and moving on to the next thing. And with Warcry and Berserking mode, you're kind of guaranteeing that you're going to get that one shot. So I have Enhanced Deathblow, which gives 100% increased damage to bosses, and I have Warrior's Deathblow, which gives me berserking for 3 seconds. So each time I'm hitting somebody, killing those the small ads, I'm refreshing my berserking cooldown, and I'm one-shotting the ad. Now, For the ultimate, I'm using Iron Maelstrom. It does 3 consecutive hits. So the first one stuns, the second one bleeds, and the third one is just overall damage. And the modifiers I have on it are Prime Iron Maelstrom, which gives me more crit strike damage and more crit strike chance. In Supreme Iron Maelstrom, which reduces my cooldown on Iron Maelstrom if I deal damage after switching a weapon. In Supreme Iron Maelstrom, in Strategic Ground Stomp, are my cooldown reduction for my ultimate, bringing that long cooldown of 60 seconds down to almost 0 seconds if you use it correctly. Alright, now looking at my gear, I have a Legendary Aspect that heals me for 2.3 life per second for each close enemy, up to 46 life per second. And I have Thorns on it as well. Like, this isn't a Thorns build, but I'm using Thorns with this build. Second aspect, if I deal damage to an elite enemy, I get a barrier for 315 damage for 10 seconds. It can occur once every 30 seconds. I also have Thorns on that as well. This one, after generating 100 Fury, my next core skill creates a tornado that deals damage to enemies behind the target. I don't like this one particularly, so I might switch it up for this one, which if I have a barrier, then I have a chance to ignore incoming damage from ranged enemies. This one, I have a chance to gain Fortify whenever I deal damage while berserking. So it really funnels into the berserking build, and it just makes me overall more tanky, which is exactly what you want for a Barbarian. So this one, direct damage against bleeding enemies, has a chance to stun enemies for 2 seconds. I don't particularly like this one, but it does synergize with my next aspect that you're going to see here. So stunning a bleeding enemy deals 72% of their total bleeding amount to them as physical damage. So that synergy right there really benefits me in a boss, not a boss battle, but in combat with regular enemies, because I can bleed them and I can hit ground stomp and they just take the bleeding damage instantly. Alright, for this one, you gain Thorns while berserking, again funneling into the berserking build, but I also get Thorns. For this one, for each point of Fury I gain, it contributes to the damage stacking on my core skill, which I don't use my core skill often, but when I do have several things that stack damage on it, so it does hit very hard. For this one, I couldn't find a legendary that was stronger than this. I couldn't even find a rare that was stronger than this, so that's why I still have this one on, and then I just upgraded it just to, I don't know, make it even better than what it was. On this ring, attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill by 7% up to 50%. Again, just synergizing with this aspect. So my next core skill, my upheaval, will deal a significant amount of damage whenever I use it. For this one, whenever I deal direct damage while berserking, it does bleed damage. So even though I'm not running a bleed build, I can still apply bleed damage with this and with my ultimate. And then I can stun them with my ground stomp, so they'll take extra bleed damage. So everything I have just really funnels together to keep myself berserking and then gain benefits while berserking and kill the enemy faster while berserking. And then this is the only way I can get immunity. So if I'm hit while not healthy, I get this bubble that appears for 4.5 seconds. Everybody can get it. It's part of the story. And it can appear once every 90 seconds. I was only able to max out one of these weapon expertise skills, I guess. And the one I maxed out gave me damage to vulnerable enemies. So hopefully I can figure out a way to make enemies vulnerable so I get that damage from that. We didn't get our techniques in the beta, so I don't know what they do, but hopefully it just increases my damage even further. I see my attack power is 731, but Whenever I hit Warcry and it gives me Berserking mode, that goes to well over 1,000. So really, you just want to hit Warcry and then just spam Deathblow until you hit something that doesn't die from one hit, and then you just upheaval or use your ultimate. And there's really no thought into it. The only thought is keep up Berserk for as long as possible, which I think is very befitting of the Barbarian class. Thank you for watching this build. I plan on playing Druid, Necromancer, and even more Barbarian inside of the beta that's coming tomorrow. I will make a Druid build because I'm interested in Druid and Barbarian. I don't know if I'll make a Necromancer build, but I will play that. That is guaranteed. Thank you for watching this build. I enjoyed every minute of this beta, and there is a open beta starting tomorrow, March 24th, where everybody can play it. Doesn't matter if you bought the game or not. So I highly recommend you play it if you don't already. But if you're watching this video, then most likely you're eager to play it or you've played it already.